Alright, gang, well, welcome to the Blue Ridge Parkway. Hopefully, skies look pretty good, so hopefully we'll have a good drive all the way up to our stop. So, drivers, as you can see here, we've only got the center lane, or center line working for us, so we do not have a line over on the right edge. So, please pay attention where we're going, let the passengers kind of do pictures, video, and all that good stuff. So, we're going to do our best to stay centered in our lane, and so we don't need to cut across the center line through the corners. Got blind corners, things like that, with usually a good bit of traffic. Please watch the right edge as well, so there's some pretty dramatic drop-offs that can do a lot of damage to vehicles. So again, do your best to stay centered in our lane, as well as could be cars parked right off the edge of the road, getting bicyclists, pedestrians, things like that walking around. So I'll try to give us a heads up from the front here if we see any of that stuff, as well as like tree branches, rocks, things like that going around some of the corners. We never really know what you can encounter here on the parkway. And again, gang, I'm going to run either the speed limit or usually just a little below that to help keep our group together. But let's go ahead and try to just big effort here to keep us kind of closed up, get everybody closed back up to about 2 car lengths off each other, all the way from the front to the back, gang. Front to the back, 2 car lengths, and hopefully we'll stay within radio communication as we're making our way up the mountain here. And so the parkway, gang, it's actually its own national park, which is kind of cool, and it's 469 miles. It kind of starts up the Shenandoah Mountains of Virginia and kind of runs kind of southwest down to Cherokee, North Carolina. We get on at about mile marker, just below 400, like 390, 395, right in there. To kind of give you an idea where we're at. So we're 70 or 80 miles from Cherokee. We're on it for about 15 miles. And our elevation when we get on is about 2,500 feet, and we're going to work up to about 5,000. We'll make our stop at Mount Pisgah picnic area, and the peak of Mount Pisgah is about 5,700. It's a little short of that on our stop.
Our ears might pop. Sounds like the height of Denver.
Alright, gang, we're going to talk about some performance features now for these Edge STs. So, you guys probably know we've got the 335 horsepower, these EcoBoost. We got the 380 on the torque side. It's an 8-speed transmission, all the power down. So we've got a lot of gears down there on the low end to power down, and a lot of gears up top to give our help us get that great fuel mileage that we're still able to achieve. And we've got specific suspension tuning, gang, for these Edge STs as well. You have the lower ride height to kind of start with to kind of help give you more lateral grip, which can equal more cornering speed if you're doing performance driving and things like that. Bigger sway bars in the front and rear. Again, just to try to minimize, reduce that body roll that you might have in SUVs, typical SUVs. As well as braking has been beefed up quite a bit as well. You got the larger front caliper, 2-piston front caliper. The rotors, front and rear, are actually larger than your standard Edge. As well as performance brake pads, just more aggressive brake pads that are put on these, all equals up to much greater stopping power, these Edge STs. And we've actually got 2 driving modes in these Edge STs. You got your normal drive mode, which is your default drive mode. So every time you turn the key, the ignition on and off, you're always going to default back to normal mode. And that is a great blend of everything, just performance, comfort, economy, all that good stuff. Just a good everyday driving mode to use. And then we've got sport mode. Okay, sport mode. So if you look, and again, passengers, help your drivers out. with some of this stuff. But if you look at your rotary shift dial there in the center console, the big dial, it's got an S on it. If we push that S, let's go ahead and do that. You'll see it kind of illuminate underneath the button there. We're next to go through our first tunnel of the morning. We got 9 tunnels we're going to go through on the way up the mountain and 1 tunnel on the way down the mountain. So when you put it in sport mode, gang, you should have noticed there, there's some things that change on the vehicle systems that actually do change. Quite a few things actually do change. One being your throttle response is going to probably be the most noticeable effect that you'll see. It's much more aggressive on the throttle response. Quicker takeoffs, kind of helping reduce some of the turbo lag you might feel in the normal mode. You probably felt it kind of downshift maybe once or twice in the transmission. So the transmission mapping will actually change as well, so it's going to be more aggressive on the shifting of the transmission. So the shifts will actually happen faster, and then it's going to hold you in the lower gears a little bit longer to kind of keep those RPMs up. And if you're doing some spirited on-road driving or performance driving, it's going to keep you down, you know, kind of in that torque and power range you'd want to be in if you were doing some performance driving. Steering actually changes just a little bit. It takes a little bit of the assist out, so it's going to be a little bit more feel on the steering wheel, a little heavier feel to it. And then also your we've got some branches out here. Just looks like leaves, so it should be okay in our lane. The traction control, stability control thresholds change a little as well, gang. So the threshold, it's still all on and working for you, but the thresholds are opened up just a little bit. So it actually allows a little bit more wheel spin with the traction, and actually allows a little bit more slip angle with the vehicle. So a little more yaw angle, if you will. So again, which can be advantageous if you're doing some performance driving. Kind of helps reduce some of the typical understeer that you would have built into the vehicle. And then it's also, as well as kind of changes the way the torque and the power is delivered to the front and rear wheels. So it's going to be a more even distribution of the torque and power when you are accelerating front and rear. So a lot of things change when you go to that sport mode. And we've also got the paddle shifters, okay, on these Edge STs, which we like to talk about. And they're on the steering wheel there, kind of at the 9 o'clock. If you look at the wheel, it's the clock, 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position. And that is actually a hand position that we will highly recommend all day long, gang, doing any kind of driving really, but especially performance driving. Kind of leaving those hands at the 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position if you can. And those paddle shifters will be right at your fingertips. So the paddle shifters are available at any time, gang, normal or sport mode. If you pull back on that left paddle, that is your downshift paddle. So let's pull back on that left paddle a couple times. You're going to see that it drops down a couple gears. You'll probably see it displayed up on your dash. Over on the left side inside the tack, it should say an S with the gear number. Mine's saying S3 right now. And then also, you're going to notice in the shift display when we put it into sport, that S will be highlighted as well. Again, just letting you know that you are in sport mode.
That's really pretty.
But you'll notice that it kind of locks you into that gear, right? It's kind of when you're in sport mode and you use those paddle shifters, it's almost like a true manual. It kind of gives you a little bit more control over the transmission, whereas the car's not really automatically shifting. You're taking a little bit of control over those shifts. And then if you pull back on that right shift paddle, you'll notice, go ahead and pull back on the right one a couple times and it'll take you back up a couple gears. That's your upshift paddle.
You never use those, do you?
And again, notice that after a few seconds of kind of resuming back to normal driving, cruising along, it's still holding that gear for you. Mine is showing S5, so I'm in 5th gear. It's showing that, holding that gear for you. So again, when you're in sport mode, using the paddle shifters, it kind of locks you into that gear, more of a manual mode of the transmission. People are usually intimidated to try the paddle shifters, gang. There's protections built in for the drivetrain transmission. Basically, you're not going to be able to hurt anything. It's not going to allow you to go into a gear that's too low for your speed and over rev the engine, or too high for a slower speed and kind of lug the car along either. So protections built in. So really, like I said, you can't really mess it up. So use them, have fun with them. Like I said, it just allows you to be a little more proactive rather than just reactive on the transmission.
So if you were going downhill...
Now, if you wanted to go back to the like automatic mode of
That's
shifting,
what I was doing with the T-Bird more than
while you're still in sport mode, you can pull
downgrade.
back on the right shift paddle for about 2 or 3 seconds. Hold that right shift paddle back, and that'll take you back to the automatic shift mode. So you're still going to be in sport drive mode, but now the car is back in automatic and it's going to be making the shift. It's going to basically be shifting the car for you again. So that's kind of how you go from manual kind of back to the automatic shift mode while you're in sport drive mode.
You're so attentive to driving, you're not...
But again, those paddle shifters are available either in normal or sport. And when you're in normal drive mode and you use your paddle shifters, it doesn't really lock it into the gear like when you're in sport mode. So you're in normal drive mode, you're using your paddle shifters. After a few seconds of using the paddle shifters, it would revert back to the automatic mode. So I know it's a little confusing sounding there, gang, but if you guys have any questions, again, just feel free to ask us once we get... You'll get to try a lot of this stuff out once we get to the Ag Center and we're doing some of those driving exercises. So we've got some cyclists up here, gang. We're going to get slowed down. I'm clear, so I'm going to go around the cyclist. Gang, when it is clear and you feel safe to do so, carefully make your way around the cyclist and you are still clear from the front. I'll let you know if there's any cars coming up ahead. You are still clear from the front. Alright, good job, good job. So I'm going to kind of give us a little radio silence here and let you enjoy the rest of the drive up the mountain here. And I'll get back with you before we make our stop. Enjoy the views.
Not Wi-Fi, cell phone. We have no cell phone connection.
That's why it must be back because the music came back.
Oh.
That requires a connection.
My phone still says no.